Hello everyone, this is Misa, and today I'm here to bring you a sort of remake of a work that already exists on the channel, but it's from the old phase of the channel, and that's why I decided to make a new one and continue this part as well. The story revolves around two characters who end up meeting as children in a hospital. However, after that contact, they end up meeting again many years later when the protagonist is transferred to that little boy's school. But now that little boy is no longer so young, and moreover, he is one of the troublemakers at school. Their first meeting is not the best, and they don't even manage to recognize each other. There's a challenging atmosphere, and the protagonist then decides to ignore him since he is a troublemaker at school. During her school year, she ends up making friends with a girl, and they spend a lot of time together. However, her friend actually has a crush on that boy from her childhood, and apparently the crush is only from the friend since he seems to be not interested at all. The protagonist, because of her friend, tries to ignore all the initial interaction they had, but apparently the guy is keen on provoking her. She tries her best not to have any conversation with him because of her friend, but it seems that things are destined to trace the path for both of them, making them meet several times in different situations, and they end up getting closer. But because of the crush that her friend has on the guy, the protagonist realizes that maybe she doesn't stand a chance, and the best option would be to give up those feelings, which makes the situation increasingly complex because her friend keeps pursuing the guy, and the protagonist always feels awkward, trying to avoid him as much as possible. However, as if they were destined, even while she is ignoring him, their paths cross several times in the same school, which puts her in a pretty complicated situation when he ends up confessing that he actually likes her. And then, what would you do in that situation? Let's go ahead and start this story. It's called Can You Hear Me? And I've made it up to chapter 26. The story begins a few years ago. Doctors were moving a woman on a stretcher covered with a blood-stained white sheet while a child observed on a cold and silent night. The child was watching the still hand of the woman on the stretcher. The images of the boy's mother being killed kept replaying in his mind. The woman's son felt as if he were lost in the darkness without air. He imagined that his only way out was death, and just when he was about to give up, a girl asked what the boy was doing. With tear-filled eyes, the child looked at the one in front of him who seemed more like a light at the end of the tunnel. Sitting in a chair with graceful clothes and curious eyes, the young girl took the boy's hand while searching for something in her small blue bag. Then she placed a strawberry candy in the boy's hand. She told the little boy that perhaps he was in a bad situation at that moment, but that life treats everyone the same in the end. Hopeful, the girl said that her mother told her that life is like a plum, always sour before it becomes sweet, surprising the boy after saying that if he could hold on a little longer, his life would improve. The young girl stood up to leave when the desperate boy asked her name. Smiling, the girl with a butterfly mark on her cheek waved as she said it would be a secret, and that if fate allowed, they would meet again. Many years later, the day was clear and beautiful but hot in the middle of summer. A man was sweating from the heat while evaluating a certain student. The old literature teacher said he had great expectations for the transferred student as she handed him a small white cloth. Lin Weixia, the transferred girl with a butterfly on her cheek, now 17 years old, thanked the teacher's compliments and stated that she would do her best not to disappoint him. Wiping his sweat, the teacher commented that the school had already made other offers to the girl and expressed his surprise that she accepted the offer this time. The young girl said that this time she had a reason to accept the school's offer. A sign presented the third class of the second year. The same classroom was in a mess from the commotion of students playing and talking. The teacher hit something wooden to make noise, catching attention and asking the students for silence. Telling the students to welcome their new classmate, the young girl introduced herself as Lin Weixia and said it was a pleasure to meet them. Then the classroom quickly filled with whispers and speculations about the girl. Jia asked the teacher where she should sit, and he responded that she could sit wherever it was vacant. A young boy raised his hand and announced that there was an empty seat next to him. The protagonist walked to the spot while receiving the gaze of everyone in the room. The other girls commented that luckily she was not sitting next to Ban Sheng because there were not many girls who were worthy of sitting next to him. The protagonist noticed an empty desk with the notebook written with the name the girls just mentioned. She sat next to the boy who introduced himself as Ning Chao, and after introducing herself, asked if the boy was also recruited by the school. He responded that the school, to maintain its reputation, periodically recruits some students who are under social care, and these are called F students, like him. He also commented that the school's hierarchy is a bit silly, but she will understand soon. Jia only responded, intrigued about how it would be from now on. The teacher announced the end of the class and that the representative should collect the assignments. Jia, after leaving class, headed to the girls' bathroom. Girls in the girls' bathroom lamented the absence of someone at school and the fact that they had dressed up for the boy who had missed class. They joked, teasing that he only had eyes for basketball and astronomy and probably wouldn't have space for anything else. When the bathroom door opened, one of the girls in the bathroom smiled warmly, greeting Jia by name. saying that she thought Jia was lying when she mentioned that she would come to this school. On the terrace, Sijia is impressed that Jia decided to go to this school, commenting that her exam score was almost better than that of the best student in the institution. Curious, the protagonist asked who the top student in the school was. Blushing, the young girl's friend pronounced the name Ban Sheng, the same one many girls had mentioned. Jia only asked if he was the guy from the observatory, to which Sijia agreed, saying that she probably heard the other girls talking and that, in fact, the observatory belongs to him, as his family donated 2 buildings to the school. Seeing that her friend was just fiddling with her phone, Sijia asked what she was doing, and the protagonist replied that she was messaging Ban Sheng to deliver her Chinese homework, as she needed to take it to the teacher. Excited, Sijia announced that she would help the class representative by taking the phone from her hand. She then began typing on the girl's phone. All excited, her friend said that the homework would be delivered on Saturday at 5 p.m. and that she would go pick it up in Zia's place, and quickly asked her friend's help to decide what to wear for the occasion. On Saturday afternoon at an internet cafe in the neighborhood, Xia knows that her new school does not allow students to work, so today will be her last day. When something in front of her caught her attention, 2 men seemed to be fighting with each other. The young lady quickly took out her phone and called security, announcing that she was the receptionist at the cyber cafe and that people were causing trouble inside. Someone threw an ID card onto the counter. While leaving, the guy said that he would pay for the damages caused by their fight. When Xia picked up the ID card, she noticed a familiar name, Ban Sheng. As soon as she realized who it was and fearing what might happen to that boy who was dragged away, she ran after them in the rain. Ban and his friends were in an alley with that guy begging at their feet. Even though the guy was asking him to stop hitting him, Ban said it was too late for that. The protagonist arrived at that moment, calling out to him. This caught him off guard. However, the moment he looked at her face, he noticed the butterfly mark near her eye and remembered that little girl from the past. Everyone stood still, reacting to the appearance of that girl. Jia told him to stop hitting that guy, as he was almost killing him. He then grabbed something that looked like a bat and raised it to rest on his shoulder, telling the kneeling boy in front of him that someone was pleading mercy on his behalf, so maybe he could leave with his dignity. Before the boy could even thank him, Ban finished the sentence saying that he could keep his dignity while getting hit a little more. But the protagonist grabbed his sleeve before he could continue. This caught him off guard. The protagonist questioned why he was using violence instead of talking. However, a boy at the back became stressed and asked what the girl was saying, but he was stopped from continuing by Ban. The troublemaker just dropped the bat on the ground, scaring the boy who was still kneeling on the ground. Soon, Ban told the frightened boy to get out of there, and quickly the boy ran off, thanking him. Xia questions whether he hadn't made plans with Sijia to turn in the assignment and what he was doing there. Ban just sighed, blowing out the smoke from the cigarette he had just finished. Throwing the cigarette away, he says he doesn't like girls who take the initiative. But since she is pursuing him like this, he might be interested. Noticing the strange interest, the protagonist steps back. Her cell phone starts vibrating in her pocket. To her surprise, it was Sijia. Sad for having waited 2 hours for Ban without him showing up, she quickly replies to her friend to send her the location as she is going to pick her up. Irritated and without saying anything to the guy, she just runs out into the rain towards her friend. One of the guys says they should leave too since it seemed like a typhoon was coming. He just patted the younger one's head and told him they should leave, but he couldn't help feeling a bit disappointed, as it seemed she didn't recognize him from when they were kids. The rain was heavy in a certain place. Sijia was crying when the protagonist put her jacket on her, apologizing, saying she had been stuck in traffic, which was why she was late. Tearfully, her friend hugged Xia tightly, thanking her. Comforting her friend, the protagonist commented that next time if no one shows up, she shouldn't wait. Awkwardly, the girl just said she was bored. The two prepared to leave, when Sijia, looking sad, started to speak about today. But the protagonist assured her that she wouldn't tell anyone what had happened there. The two walked, sharing an umbrella in the heavy rain, until her friend stops and asks to stop for a moment because she needs to buy something. Smiling, she asks a vendor if they sold cigarettes of a specific brand, to which he quickly replied they were sold out and if she liked another brand. Awkwardly, she comments that the guy only likes that brand. Xia can't quite understand her friend. Is a guy like Ban Sheng really worth all this effort? The next day, Xia is filling her water bottle when some girls start commenting on her being new at school. As soon as one of the girls touches her arm and calls her, she notices the blue bow on the uniform, commenting that she didn't know she was an F student. Xia, not understanding, replies that yes. This leaves the girl irritated and disgusted, making her even wipe her hand with a napkin. As they walk away, the other girls comment that her appearance is pretty, but it's a shame she's a failed F. The young girl's classmate asked her to ignore the A students because they always acted arrogantly toward F students. Walking back to class, the girl comments that she sits very close to Xia in class, and before the girl says her name, the protagonist shows that she knows her name is Fangmo. This makes the girl smile happily when she found out that she already knew her name. A bit confused by what happened, Xia Xia decides to ask why those girls called her an F student. Mo then explained that the A students wear red bow ties and the F students wear blue bow ties, which is how they distinguish themselves. Still confused, she asks what the difference was between F students and A students. A students usually come from good families and get good grades, so they are always at the top in their field since birth. However, F students are more complex since some get bad grades, some come from common families, or were transferred from other schools and are considered weak and mediocre. Basically, they are students from different social classes who happen to be in the same school, but A students tend to look down on F students, who usually just ignore the A students. When suddenly Sijia hugs the protagonist from behind, saying she had been looking for her and asks if they could have lunch together. Being pulled away, the young girl just said she was going, while the bespectacled girl just wished her a good lunch. In the cafeteria, Sijia shares food with Xia, saying it was all made by her housekeeper. The protagonist hands a drink to her friend, saying it's a soda with little sugar, which will probably please her more. Other students seeing the scene comment that they are really very pretty, but how can Liu Sijia eat with an F student? However, the two continue in their pink little world, until the cause of the discord enters the cafeteria. Ban's friend, who called him brother, was stressed and said that the guy with glasses had stolen money from an old lady even after being punished twice. However, as soon as Ban notices Zia's presence, he asks his friend to drop it and stop talking about that subject. The two are eating peacefully until Sijia gets super excited and calls Xia, who doesn't understand anything, but her friend is thrilled that Ban came to eat in the cafeteria. Suddenly, she stands up, grabbing Xia's cup in her hand, claiming that she would switch glasses with her friend because the guy liked sweet drinks. So she would take that glass to him and take the opportunity to ask about the appointment he missed. Humming, the young girl walked away. Not seeming very interested, Ban doesn't even look at the poor girl while she talks, which irritates the protagonist a bit due to his attitude. Sijia quickly returns, saying she is very happy because he accepted the drink, even though he had another one on the table. Curious, the protagonist asks about the weekend appointment, and her friend replies that the boy had apologized for not going because something unexpected had happened. And since the boy had decided to drink the drink, she decided to forgive him. It was then that Xia glanced sideways to look at him and noticed Ban's gaze on her. He took the drink he had received and pierced the lid with a straw to drink it, while looking at her with a provocative smile as he drank his beverage. Noticing the guy's action, she just turned back around, slightly embarrassed, wondering if he had done it on purpose. The two classmates were walking to their classroom when the bespectacled girl asked about the commotion in the classroom. A group of girls was talking among themselves about touching up their makeup to catch someone's attention when Mo noticed the reason for the commotion. Ban had returned to attending classes. A classmate asked if he had seen a basketball game the night before. When the protagonist passed by him, Ban tried to discreetly notice if she was still ignoring him, and she really was. Mo comments that Ban comes from a very wealthy family and gets good grades, even though he is cold. The girls like him for his looks and intelligence. And then she asks if Saya can see the tattoo he has on his ankle. A black lily that rumors say he tattooed to honor the girl he is in love with, even though it goes against the school's rules. The friend adds that he probably is only interested in A-grade girls. However, the conversation is cut off when he throws the exercise notebook on the table, saying that this was his Chinese exercise, and for the next time, she should send someone else to pick it up. Everyone in the room is impressed that the famous Ban Sheng talked to an F student. Even her friend was excited, but it was more because Jia didn't even respond to him. The protagonist puts away her notebook, somewhat irritated, as it was the same tone he used that night. Then a voice on the school's loudspeaker asked all students to gather immediately on the field for a motivational meeting for the new semester, and that the student council would conduct a surprise inspection of uniforms and class behavior. All the students were heading to the field. They were going down the stairs when Mo noticed that Xia wasn't wearing her ID badge on her uniform. She then turned back to the classroom to look for her badge and asked her classmate to wait for her on the field. The hallway was empty as the girl walked through the corridors, looking for her ID badge and wondering how she had lost it. When she looked down, she saw 2 pairs of white sneakers and a lily tattoo on the left leg stop in front of her. Ban was looking at her with a little smile on his face, until he extends his hand and asks if this was what she was looking for. Jia takes the badge, thanking him, but before she finishes her sentence, he leans closer, saying that he didn't find the old one but made a new one, putting all his charm on display. He steps back, saying that she owes him $12 for that, and leaves before she can even respond. The poor girl's heart won't withstand these advances, and she wonders why he helped her. The school field was soon full of students after the announcement of the motivational meeting for the new semester. Whispering, Mo asks Xia if she had found her ID badge message as the student council would be conducting an inspection soon, so her hair shouldn't be covering it, when suddenly someone shouted Lin Weixia's name. The red-haired leader of the student council asks if Weiqia had memorized the school rules and that she had 1 minute to tie up her hair. However, the protagonist explains that she couldn't tie her hair at that moment, and that her situation had already been explained to her teachers before she entered the school. With disdain, the redhead asked if the so-called F students were getting too full of themselves, and questioned if Lin thought even the student council couldn't control her. But suddenly, the girl pauses her sentence and approaches, asking if Sia is so poor that she can't even buy a hair tie. Everyone around who was following the situation began to laugh at the dark-haired girl, calling her a shameless beggar. Except her classmate, all the others continued laughing at the girl and mocking her for being an F student. However, the protagonist stands firm and says that she has already explained the situation to the teachers, so if the girl has any problem, she should ask them. This makes her even more irritated, then advanced towards Zia, claiming that if she had entered that school, she should follow the rules and that she herself would tie Lin's dark hair. Suddenly, someone shouted for them to stop and holds the arrogant girl's hand, which quickly breaks free, but is surprised to see Sijia, who asks her classmate not to abuse her position and to stop bothering Zia. Confused, the redhead asked why Sijia was defending that F girl and what her relationship with her was. Hearing the question, she recalls the previous occasion when she was upset in the rain, and Weiqia came to her rescue, helping her and taking her home. With an authoritative and confident look, Sijia answers that the dark-haired girl behind her was her friend. This made the redhead turn her back on the two and leave, while questioning what was so special about that F student, generating comments from everyone around. Xia could only think about how happy she was to be considered a friend. Her friend warns that she will stay by her side. Meanwhile, 3 guys observe the two, saying that the popularity would explode if Jung dated Sijia, and the other says that the new student is pretty, even though she is an F student. With a malicious look, the blonde jerk said that it was easy to win over F girls because they would be happy with anything expensive, and unnecessarily commented on Zia's legs, saying they were white and straight and that they looked good to touch. Suddenly, a hand grabbed the blonde's shoulder tightly and called him by name. With a menacing look, Sheng said he had something to discuss with the blonde and asked if they could talk somewhere else. Then rumors spread around the school the next day, with people talking about an alleged fight between the blonde and Ban because of the unpleasant comments Jung made about Sijia. Ban's friend heard the rumors and quickly ran to his friend's classroom with hopeful eyes. He reached the guy's desk, calling him Boss Ban, catching his attention as well as that of the girl behind him. Whispering, the young boy asked if it was true that he had fought with the stupid blonde because of Sijia. However, Ban didn't respond and just stared at him, appearing not to have liked the comment at all. Nervous, he gave up and said he wouldn't ask again about what happened the previous day. Changing the subject, the boy moved closer to look at the paper on his desk and saw that he had scored 98% on the test. This caught Lin's attention as she sat behind them when she heard how much the young man had scored on the test. The girl looked on curiously while Ban's friend excitedly asked him to share his secret to getting such high scores. Then, Ban simply tossed a milk carton into the shorter guy's hands, claiming that he should drink plenty of milk to become smart. Jia just smiled in silence, finding the situation between the two amusing. She was impressed because the tests at that school were indeed very difficult, and if Ban Sheng had scored so high, he was truly intelligent, and she would have to work hard to catch up with him. Suddenly, Ban pulled a cup out of nowhere and poured a little soda into it. Apparently, the cup contained a type of pickled plum drink that, when mixed with soda, became somewhat salty, and his friend was impressed that he liked drinks like that. Ban, with a smirk, said that he had recently started to like salty drinks more than sweet ones. This made the protagonist smudge the physics calculation she was working on, and feeling embarrassed, it was probably the drink she had had the other day. Students were walking through the institution's corridor during break time while Sijia and Jia were talking. Worried if the student council was still bothering her, the protagonist denied it, but Sijia was intrigued about how her friend managed to find her nameplate. She then said that she actually didn't find it, and Ban Sheng made a new one even though she didn't know how or why. Then Sijia mentioned that the boy was very kind, having started in the business world early to prosper financially, and was also responsible for creating the school uniform emblems, and completed by saying that since he has a very wealthy family, he probably didn't act that way for money. Xia comments that she heard that yesterday because of her friend, but before she can finish, Sijia tells her not to spread those rumors, for being embarrassed, but she blushes shyly as she admitted that she had liked Sheng for a long time, commenting that he is different from other men, since he likes astrology so much that he spent 2 months looking for a star, and besides that, he has also traveled the world to practice diving. Meanwhile, Sijia says that she can't even understand the coordinates of a star and would drown in the sea, which makes her sad for not being able to perfectly understand his hobbies. The protagonist took her friend's hand and said she wasn't good at comforting people, but asked her not to try too hard for that guy. Oh my god, it's going to get harder and harder for this romance to happen with Sia, so in love like this. Holding Sia's hands, her friend asks her to help her win him over. 2 days later, Jia and Mo were leaving their classroom when the short-haired girl commented on how lucky the other had been to find her ID badge and for Sijia to intervene with the council, as it would have been very difficult for Jia to handle the situation as an F student. Again, the protagonist explained that she hadn't found her ID badge and that, in fact, Ban had given her that one. But before she could complete the phrase, someone suddenly called out to Wakeshia, saying that it was Shengran's birthday this weekend, so she was invited. I think Shengran is the red-headed girl from student council. Uninterested, Jia apologizes, saying she had commitments that weekend. Irritated, the girl replies that it doesn't matter, since her job was just to invite her. Mo is impressed and says that they never invite F students, so maybe it was an opportunity to go. But the protagonist says that her family has a grocery store, so she always helps on weekends. Returning to the previous topic, Xia comments that she was impressed that Ban Sheng designed the uniforms, so it was probably his idea to put different colors for the bow ties. Her colleague says she doesn't know the details, but when a student questioned this, the school just commented that it was a tradition. Back in the classroom, Sijia asks Jia to look at her phone, questioning if she had also been invited to the party that weekend, saying they could go together and was excited because Ban Sheng would probably be there. Jia began writing to her friend, saying that she had declined. However, she remembered the conversation they had earlier about helping out her friend and deleted her message, just saying, okay, agreeing to go to the party. But suddenly, the boy in front of her threw a notebook on Wakexia's desk. As soon as she opened the notebook, she finds a note from Ban Sheng thanking her for the money but stating that he didn't accept cash, writing down his WeChat ID, and with the note were the bills she had given him. The young girl just looked forward, slightly confused, and saw the boy's back just paying attention to the teacher and not bothering her anymore. She then added his contact to her WeChat. The young girl was sitting on her bed, fiddling with her phone, looking at a transfer of 12 wen she had sent to Ban that hadn't yet been received, wondering mentally why the boy hadn't received it yet, as she had made the transfer in the afternoon. She decides to sleep and ask him tomorrow, but her phone suddenly vibrates, indicating a new notification. She quickly moved to grab her phone and check the supposed notification, but it was just Sijia asking which of the 3 outfits she had sent should be worn to the party the next day. Disheartened, the young girl realized it was just her friend and replied that the black outfit suited her more. While typing, she suddenly received a message from Ban. He didn't accept her transfer, but there was a location, probably of the party, and saying for her not to take the wrong road. The protagonist feels embarrassed and hides under the blanket, only able to think about how he knew she was going to the party and why he didn't accept the transfer. The next afternoon, Zia was at a small bus stop, fiddling with her phone to let Sijia know she was already at the foot of the mountain, but she actually has a horrible sense of direction, so she asks if her friend could pick her up. However, Sijia did not respond, and the sun set, getting darker. Sitting on the bus stop bench, she finally was able to reach her friend and asks if she had seen her message, because she was still at the foot of the mountain. But Sijia couldn't hear anything because of the noise from the party, and her friends were telling her to put down the phone. She just told her friend at the bus stop that she couldn't pick her up because she was busy. Realizing that it wouldn't be possible, Zia decides that it would be better to leave than to wander around lost. When suddenly, a black car stopped in front of her. The rear passenger window slowly rolled down, revealing a man in a black hoodie. Ban rested his arm where the window had been closed and smiled as he asked if the young girl was lost by any chance. The car sped along a long, illuminated road. The two were sitting in the back passenger seat without making eye contact or engaging in small talk. Then the driver warned his young master that the mountain road had many curves and that he should be careful. The driver gripped the steering wheel firmly and began to turn it, causing the car to swerve at high speed, making Xia slide to the right, bumping into Ban. Making the two get very close, it was just missing the romantic music in the scene. The two, still very close, looked at a cut on the boy's index finger, caused by the cactus. Awkwardly, Jia searched for something in her pocket, apologizing that the cactus had hurt his hand. She handed him a pink Band-Aid and asked him to use it. The young man took the Band-Aid by its edge and brought it to his mouth to open it with his teeth. As he adjusted the pink Band-Aid on his finger, the young girl asked if he wasn't already at the party, as she had seen a photo of him there with other classmates. Ban replied that he had gone out to help Shengran's brother buy some things, and also to check if a certain person hadn't gotten lost on the way, which made the protagonist embarrassed. The black car looked like a small beetle compared to the large mansion it had parked in front of. The The trunk was open when the young man asked to carry the boxes for his driver, as the man was old and had a bad back. Sia offered to help too, but the elderly driver insisted he was fine and didn't need help. Ban then handed her some balloons, asking her to carry them for him. She admired him when he reassured her that he would carry the items and that she didn't need to carry anything. Curious, Ban glanced back and asked if the cactus that had pricked him earlier was the girl's birthday gift for Shengran. Saddened, she thought to herself that the cactus was very special to her, and she didn't have the money to buy something better, wondering if the boy had asked because he thought the gift was mediocre. But the boy moved closer, causing her to blush at the sudden action. Suddenly, he took the cactus from her hands, making her ask in surprise what he was doing. The boy lifted the cactus slightly and remarked that it had pricked his finger earlier because it wanted to go with him. He throws a gift before Zia can complain, and says that she can give this gift to Shengran since she was desperate for a signed photo card from her favorite idol. When Zia starts to retort that he shouldn't use her as a middleman to give the gift, Ban says that Shengran is allergic to cacti. Not understanding him, the young girl thought he had belittled her gift and wondered if she had misunderstood him. The boy, who was walking ahead of her, suddenly stopped and turned slightly to ask if the girl would go with him to the party, to which she quickly responded affirmatively. At the party, there were various comments about where Ban was, as the birthday girl had already arrived. Ban opened the door, followed by Waxia right behind him, and everyone paused to look at both of them. The fact that the two arrived together sparked various comments accusing her of being a girl only interested in status. Sijia quickly went to speak to Sia, apologizing as she had only just seen her message. Smiling, Sijia thanked Ban Sheng for bringing her friend. The boy just smiled, happy and relaxed, without replying to her, walking over to his butler and handing him the box he was carrying. The girl looked worried at the boy, but her friend reassured her, saying not to worry about his reaction. When the red-haired birthday girl appeared, the protagonist handed her the birthday gift, saying, "Happy birthday." Before she opened the gift, she was already thinking that she shouldn't have invited a F student, but as soon as she saw what was inside, she got very excited, questioning how she managed to get the limited edition signature of her favorite idol. The other guests at the party, who had previously spoken poorly of her, began making good comments now. Jia even tries to explain who gave the gift, but the girl cuts her off, telling her to feel at ease and eat the dessert. However, she was only paying attention to Ban on the other side of the room. He thought that besides being vigilant and cautious, there were other ways to handle people in that circle as he unwrapped a candy from a red cloth. While eating the candy, he was happy that Zia hadn't changed at all since childhood. After some time, a group of friends that included Ban was looking from the balcony when a blonde boy commented on how a girl sitting on a sofa was really beautiful and asks who the lovely girl was. Another guy, with a mischievous tone, remarked that the girl must feel lonely sitting there and suggested they invite her to join them since Ban didn't care about F students, so they shouldn't care either. Mad, Ban looked at the guy with a warning gaze and asked if he wanted to find trouble. The blonde stared at Ban, confused by his reaction, and gave in, saying that if the girl was Master Ban's people, he would not be involved. Sijia, who had gone to bring a bottle of juice to Ban, ended up overhearing the entire conversation and felt very sad, quickly leaving there and still questioning why Ban Sheng cared so much about Lin Waxia. Xia was focused on the puzzle when suddenly someone called her name. Sijia sat down next to her friend to hand her an orange juice, mentioning that she decided to start giving Ban drinks every day. Trying to help her friend, Zia commented that he liked the sweet milk from a specific brand, which caught Sijia off guard, and immediately asked in desperation how she knew that. The protagonist commented that his habit of drinking milk in the morning is well known at school, and since she sits behind him, she ended up seeing the brand unintentionally. Smiling, Sijia agreed while thinking she might have overthought things. Suddenly, a loud noise echoed through the party, drawing attention. A girl was holding a small box while surrounded by boys, pleading with one of them not to do what he was about to do. The arrogant blonde asked why the girl was hiding cookies, saying they wanted to eat some too, and reached out to grab the box from her. The young girl trembled with fear as she clutched her box of cookies and looked down. But suddenly, one of the boys behind her kicked her in the back, telling her to answer the blonde because he had asked her a question. The girl fell at the blonde's feet, who complained that she almost fell on him. While the girl trembled on the ground, the guys laughed at the situation. The protagonist, seeing the scene, got irritated and started to walk towards the guys. But suddenly, a pale hand with a pink band-aid on the thumb grabbed her hand and pulled her in another direction, pushing her against the wall while still holding her hand. Outraged, the girl demanded to know who he thought he was to do that before realizing who was in front of her. Ban released her hand and announced that it was him while holding a cigarette in his other hand. He warned her not to run like that while they watched the scene from the corner. The incompetent boys continued to harass the girl, who remained seated on the floor while the arrogant blonde claimed the cookie was terrible and asked how she had the nerve to bring that to such a place. The brute blonde squatted near the girl, pressing his finger on her forehead as a form of insult, and asking if she had let her dandruff fall into the cookies while making them. The others joked about how disgusting the blonde's comment was while the girl remained kneeling on the floor, unable to react. Indignant, Weixia could only watch while Ban held her arm to keep her from intervening. Irritated, she asked if he didn't realize that the woman was being bullied by those arrogant brutes. Even so, Ban said that if she went now, it would only make things worse. But the protagonist didn't care, and she said she would go anyway. But Ban held her arm, preventing her and calling her name. Quickly, he took off the Band-Aid and changed the subject, saying that he had a cactus thorn in his finger that he couldn't remove. The girl tried to argue, but he just looked into her eyes while showing her his finger and said that if she did it, he would let her go. Seeing that there wasn't much that could be done, she decided to do what he asked and started looking for the thorn. While she was looking at his finger, Ban explained that in situations like that, the more someone tried to help, the more the boys would continue to bully the girl. He assured her that someone would intervene, and that's why he asked her not to interfere. After letting go of his hand, she asked what the difference was between someone who watched it happen without doing anything and the one who was bullying. But before she could finish her sermon, she heard someone speaking loudly with the blonde. It was the birthday girl stepping in to protect the girl, saying she had called her friend for help and asked why they were bullying her. Relieved, Zia thought that probably now the girl would be safe. The young girl was about to leave when her arm was grabbed by the boy behind her, who asked her to wait. He pulled her in front of him and commented that the situation had already been resolved, asking for her attention. She replied that she had already removed the thorn from his finger. Then he pointed to his finger and remarked that she didn't put a Band-Aid on it. Impatient, Zia sighed and placed the bandage on the boy's index finger. After that, she started to leave, reminding him that he had promised she could go once she was done, so she was leaving, while he just watched her walk away. Thoughtfully, Ban understood that what Zia said was right, and maybe he was no better than those people. Hearing this made Zia stop for a moment without turning back. Lost in thought, he looked at his injured finger, claiming that because of this, she would have to get used to his frequent visits. This made the girl lose her patience and walk away angrily while the boy leaned against the wall. Meanwhile, the bullies claimed it was just a joke, but the redhead firmly responded that it wasn't a joke and sent them downstairs. Maliciously, the blonde glanced back, saying she was lucky this time, but that next time he would do something more interesting. The girl began to cry sadly as she held one of the cookie pieces scattered across the floor. Suddenly, someone extended a hand toward the girl on the floor, telling her not to be afraid because the bullies were gone. With tears in her eyes, the girl looked up at the person in front of her. Weixia, extending her hand, tells the girl that she will help her get out of this place. As soon as the two leave the mansion, Shengran appeared running, calling for her friend. With a heavy heart, the red-haired girl apologized for what had happened, explaining that she was the one who had invited the bullies to the party and didn't expect such cruelty. She offered the girl a bag with something inside as a way of apologizing. Kindly, Weixia graciously accepted the gift and thanked her, while the girl beside her seemed disturbed and very sad. Then the red-haired girl commented that it wasn't safe to go home at that hour, offering her driver to take them home. Jia accepted the offer, knowing how bad she was with directions. Later that night, people were playing cards while discussing bets and tuition fees when one man mentioned that he had enrolled his daughter in an elite school to connect her with the wealthy. A black car stopped in front of the alley, and the driver announced that he could only take her that far because the path ahead was too narrow for the car to pass. Inside the car, Zia handed the bag to the girl and told her that it contained medicine that Li had given her for her wounds, asking her to apply it when she got home. Jia questioned if the girl wanted company because the alley was very dark, but the girl declined, leaving the car. While watching the girl walk away, the protagonist wondered why that girl was ignoring her. Was it because Jia was an F student? Irritated to know that this story of A and F students was just an excuse for them to provoke and humiliate other students. Thoughtfully, with an angry expression, the young girl affirmed that now that she belonged to School X, she couldn't just stand by and do nothing about it. She then remembered people making nasty comments about whether she was disabled and could hear them because there was something strange about her ear. Jia was on the ground with her hand on her ear, probably in pain, and her hearing aid thrown on the floor. Suddenly, a boy stood in front of her, claiming he wouldn't let them hurt the girl behind him. The students called him a meddler and started beating him, throwing him to the ground. The boy told Weixia to get out of there quickly, and all Weixia could do was beg the others not to hurt the boy. But she finally woke up from that nightmare. Startled, she quickly sat up, breathing heavily, and sat on her bed with her hand on her heart, placing her hand on her ear, sad for having dreamed again about the past. Early in the morning, Jia got ready to go to school, and she put her hearing aid in place, adjusting so that it stays well hidden behind her hair. Suddenly, the dark-haired girl's aunt appeared behind her, asking if she hadn't been suffering from heartburn lately because she had made some herbal tea. Awkwardly, the young girl mentioned that it might not be the best idea to drink the tea. Annoyed, the aunt didn't let her refuse the tea and said that if she had heartburn, there was nothing better than iced tea. Already at school, Sijia made a disgusted face when she drank the iced tea and complained that it tasted very bitter. Changing the subject, Sijia asks if Shia has thought about which club she will join, and if she hasn't chosen, they could join the basketball club together since Ban Sheng is also in the club. Before Sia could refuse, as she was thinking about joining the cello club. Too excited to listen to her friend, Sijia interrupted her, saying that reading inside the classroom isn't good for health, so they should exercise more. Continuing her monologue, Sijia says that it's a deal, and she happily places the milk in Ban Sheng's backpack before leaving the classroom. Sighing sadly, the protagonist stared at the cello club recruitment poster at her desk, then closed the brown book as if she had given up on her idea. Ban and his friend entered the room, and Ban's friend asked why there was milk on the boy's desk. Excited, the boy commented that it was even Ban's favorite brand and asked who knew him so well, quickly stating that it must have been some girl who gave him the milk. He then just stared at Jia, who was focused on her notebook while sitting at her desk. Saddened and thoughtful, the young man mentally noted that since the redhead's birthday party, Xia has been avoiding him. He then offered the milk on his desk to the boy next to him, who quickly declined, saying he was afraid that one of Ban's fans might end up killing him for taking Ban's milk. Observing the two, the protagonist believes that Ban must be upset with her because of the other day, but maybe he has even forgotten. She then rested her head on her arms, using them as a pillow, with a worried look as she thought that in the basketball club she wouldn't be able to avoid clashing with Ban, and wondered what she would do in that situation. In the school gym, in the basketball area, several students were gathered when Sijia asks why Ban is not coming to the basketball club. Ning, sweating as he threw a basketball, says that after Ban found out that girl would be here, he shot the ball, which went directly into the basketball hoop. Continued, saying that Ban simply didn't want to come anymore, showing his cool abs. Irritated, Sijia says that he doesn't even know how to speak properly, so he is a complete idiot. Mockingly, the boy asked what difference it made who was playing since, after all, his skills were better than Ban's, but he was quickly interrupted by his friend, who told him to stop provoking Sijia. The other guy tells her that Ban rarely attended the basketball club, only showing up a few times each semester, and not even participating in group activities, disappointing Sijia with the news. Disheartened and with her head down, Sijia says that she had joined the basketball club to get closer to Ban, but she hadn't even seen a trace of him in the club. Then she has an idea that seems brilliant to her. She then turned to grab the arm of her friend and asks if she could deliver a letter to Ban for her. Awkwardly, Jia responds uncertain about the idea, because she wasn't close to him. Even so, Sijia insists, saying that even though they aren't close, she sits right behind him, so she could slip the letter in when she passes the homework notebook. The protagonist continues hesitating and asks why her friend doesn't deliver it directly. Discouraged, Sijia says that she is afraid of being rejected, thinking about how her friend is lucky for not being so anxious. But as if it were a switch, she changes her mood and tells Zia that as soon as she manages to deliver the letter, she will then confess and tell him that she is the one who brings the milk every day. Excitedly, Sijia asks her friend again and promises her ice cream over the weekend. And finally, still a bit hesitant, Jia accepts the request. The sun shone through the classroom window, lighting up the room as Weixia moved between the desks, handing out assignments. With a large stack of papers in her arms, the girl thought about taking advantage of the fact that no one else was in the room at that moment and slipping the letter onto Ban's desk. She discreetly reached out to place the pink letter inside the boy's book, but suddenly, a strong gust of wind blew the notebook pages and caused the letter to fly out, leaving her in shock at the unexpected turn of events. She quickly turned around to grab the letter, but before she could pick up the letter, a hand grabbed it before she could. And to her misfortune, it was precisely the person who was supposed to receive the letter secretly. Surprised, Ban Sheng asks if this letter is for him. However, Xia does not respond and simply walks away while he opens the letter. Then, he quickly grabbed the girl's hand, preventing her from leaving, and he asks if she is inviting him out. But before Xia can respond, he smiles, showing all his beauty, saying that he will meet her the day after tomorrow in the afternoon. Realizing the misunderstanding, she tries to explain, but a group of noisy boys entered the room talking about the weather and how the forecast never gets the temperature right. So Jia quickly steps away before the students think something about being together with Ban. Unnoticed, the girl quietly left the room, walking behind the boys. Nervously, she walked, deep in thought, but telling herself that it didn't matter because what mattered was that the boy would show up for the meeting. The sun shone brightly in the sky when the day of the meeting finally arrived. Students waited for the public bus, while Zia thought that since Ban had promised, he wouldn't miss the meeting this time. Awkwardly, she fidgeted with her hearing aid, hidden by her long hair, as she wondered why she felt a great and inexplicable unease in her heart. It was when the bus that had been blocking her view moved away that something in front of her caught her attention. On the other side of the street was Sijia, holding onto Ban's arm and chatting happily while he was distracted by his phone. The young girl seemed shocked by the scene and even removed her hand from her ear. As soon as Sijia saw her, she promptly called for her friend. However, Sa just ignored her, turning to the other side with the feeling that she had done something wrong and was afraid of being discovered. He just continued to stare at the girl while the girl next to him wondered if she hadn't heard her. Feeling sad, the young girl thought to herself again that Ban was the one who misunderstood and gripped the strap of her backpack, thinking that she had only delivered a message. But as soon as her phone vibrated in her pocket, she stopped for a moment to check it was a message from Sijia, informing her that she and Ban would be going out over the weekend and that she couldn't go for ice cream with her friend but promised to make it up to her. That makes the protagonist more relaxed and write it back for her friend to have fun. The day had passed and night had fallen. Later at home, Jia is checking her site You Can Hear. But for now, there are no comments. She is surprised by the notification on her phone. It's Mo asking if she saw the school forum. Everyone is commenting on a photo of Sijia, where she takes one inside Ban Sheng's house. While he is all model in clothes, but okay. In the pool, Mo comments that it's amazing to see a photo of someone so beautiful. Plus, it seems that Ban has started going to the pool again even after the incident. This message reminded the protagonist of some things. A few years ago, that boy who defended her from others was coughing a lot near a pool. Other guys who were there grabbed the boy by his clothes, calling him by the name Liang, and asking how he could be so fragile and weak. Back to reality, Xia asks what incident Mo is talking about, but her classmate changes the subject and says she remembered wrong. The next day at school, Sijia is apologizing to Weixia for not going out with her over the weekend and asks to let her make it up to her next time. And besides that, she says she has a gift as an apology. It was a handbag that had recently become very popular, and Sijia says it would match Xia's style. The latter immediately replied that it was an expensive gift and wondered how she could accept something like that. Saddened, her friend mentions that she had bought 2 bags specifically for them to use together as friends, and if Sia didn't use hers, she would be left alone and sad. So the protagonist thanks her friend for the gift and says she will use it, changing the subject. Sijia whispers that she had gone to Ban's house over the weekend, and as a result, they had grown closer. Happy for her friend's happiness, Zia says that this is good. It seems like Sijia was hit by Cupid's arrow, and as revenge, Sijia launches a tickle attack on the protagonist, which makes her get up and move away from her friend's tickles, surrendering. However, when she walks backward without looking, she ends up bumping into someone who had just entered the room. Xia tries to turn around quickly to apologize, but it only makes things worse, as the person is Ban Sheng and she just accidentally marked his uniform. She quickly disguises it, apologizes, and goes back to ignoring him again. Sijia stepped in front, smiling and saying good morning while explaining to him that Weixia hadn't done it on purpose and that he shouldn't blame her for it. But Ban just asks Sijia to go outside with him for a moment. Sometime later, Mo calls Jia's attention, who is doing the class assignment. She tells Jia to look outside, commenting that Ban and Sijia are still chatting and how good they look together. When she sees the scene of the 2 clearly beautiful like models talking outside, the protagonist feels embarrassed for having thought differently for a moment, and understands that they really are on another level. Sometime later, both get back to the classroom and Sijia looks incredibly happy. 2 students commented on how long it had taken them to miss an entire class, and asked how the couple's conversation went, making the girl blush when she heard that. Excited, she tells the boys not to talk nonsense while Ban was already near his desk, having left the girl behind. The protagonist realizes that the rumors about Ban and Sijia seem to be getting more popular in recent days, but strangely, he doesn't comment on anything. Curious, the girl wondered if he didn't care about others' opinions or if there was another reason. Upset with her thoughts, she tries to compose herself and think of something else since it's none of her business. Then Ban's friend asked the boy what that was on his shirt and who had the nerve to draw a heart on it. He then looked at his shirt, wondering what heart. The protagonist behind him realized it might have been when she accidentally bumped into him with a pen in her hand. Finding it amusing, Ban comments that it was probably a wild and ruthless cat. Before Zia could express any reaction to those words, someone took one of her earphones asking what she was listening to. Ning put Lin's earphone in his ear and commented on how amazing it was that her earphones were not on, and she was just using it like earplugs. Even even though when he put it on, it was not soundproof. Xia asks the boy to return her phone, but he lifts the earphone away from her, saying that he doesn't know why she is nervous if no sound is coming out of it. While the two are having their moment back there, Ban hears all of this, getting more and more irritated. Later, the friends are in different clothes outside, and Sijia comments that this outdoor school activity doesn't even make sense because of the terrible heat. Xia tells her friend to wait, as she will buy an iced lemongrass for both of them. It didn't take long, and she was already back with a big smile, but she hadn't noticed that her friend was already accompanied. Her friend was asking why Ban liked plum sweets so much and also asked if they were that delicious, to which he replied only with a yes, not seeming very interested in the subject. Sijia asks if she could go shopping with him, and at that moment Ban realizes that Xia is watching the two. He replies with a victorious smile that she could come, clearly teasing the protagonist. The friend simply apologizes to Xia and goes with Ban, leaving the poor girl behind with the 2 drinks in her hand. Thus went the whole week, Ban inviting Sijia to everything, and the protagonist began to notice that maybe he was doing this on purpose. She even thought it was a coincidence the first time, but it's becoming more and more obvious. As soon as the two left while Xia was holding the drinks, Ning appeared asking what she was doing alone there. The protagonist, who every time she sees him he is wearing pink, asks if he likes the color, but he says that actually it is his lucky color. Then he takes one of the drinks from her hand and says it was convenient because he was thirsty. Xia even tries to take the drink back, but Ning argues that since Sijia went with Ban, it would be a waste to throw that away. The young girl sighed, annoyed by her desk mate's teasing as he calmly enjoyed his iced tea. Ban notices the two talking while he is walking away, getting irritated because Wei Xia seems comfortable with everyone except him. Sijia, noticing that he is distracted, asks what happened. But without even thinking about the poor girl's feelings, he says that he is not feeling well and leaves. What leaves Sijia super upset, questioning what she exactly is to him. A week after the incident, Sijia didn't show up at school any day, which worries her friend. Mo started whispering, catching Lin's attention as she shared that she had heard Sheng had canceled a date with Liu the previous weekend, meaning she had been rejected. This leaves the protagonist surprised. How could she have been rejected? The nearsighted girl also mentioned that she had heard the boy actually had a crush on a senior student in the final year. According to Fang Mo, the girl is too proud to show up at school and must have taken a leave to avoid being the subject of ridicule. The rumors leave Xia more worried, especially since she has been trying to contact her friend without success. Again, she tries to call Sijia. Even though no one answers, Xia realizes that at least this time it rang, probably because her friend turned her phone back on. Feeling guilty about the situation, Xia feels the need to fix things, so she decides to go after Ban Sheng to clear everything up. On the basketball court later, one of the classmates teases Ben, asking if he wanted him to teach him some moves. More confident, Ben says it will be very difficult, especially with the guy's poor skills. Quickly, he manages to dribble, heading towards the basket, and as soon as he scores, he says his friend is still not qualified. The two are impressed by his skill, but are interrupted by Xia, saying she needed to talk to him, which catches him off guard, but he just ignores her, saying he is not available at the moment. Even so, she insists, saying it will only be 5 minutes. Luckily, his friends have a bit more sense and say that Ban should give a chance to such a beautiful girl, since she is one of the prettiest who has come to see him lately. So, because of that, the friends decide to leave and let the two be alone. Now it seems he has no other choice. Turning to the protagonist, he just throws the ball towards her and says that if she can get the ball past him, he will give her 5 minutes of his time to listen to her. Determined, Xia says it's a deal. She does her best to manage to dribble the ball, while Ban keeps teasing, asking if she has any skills in basketball. After all, she is from the club, but it seems she can't even dribble the ball properly. The protagonist prepares to shoot the ball at the basket, but she is quickly intercepted by Ban. He returns the ball to her and warns that she is not capable of defeating him, so she should stop wasting her time. The protagonist knows she can't win against him in a direct confrontation, but maybe if she can use some fake moves to confuse him, who knows, she might have a chance. So, Xia starts moving from side to side just to trick him, but as soon as she shoots the ball, he intercepts again, praising her, telling her to try again. 20 minutes later, the poor girl is already exhausted, and he asks if she still wants to continue, while Chia still thinks about how she will manage to beat him, even without basketball skills. Determined, she grabs the ball again and runs towards him with her eyes closed, without thinking twice. The love-struck guy gets distracted by how close they are, and even more by the scent of her hair, and as if her words were an arrow that hit straight in the heart of the poor guy. As she passes by, she comments that she had never noticed he had a mole under his eye. At that moment, she had already passed him and was aiming for the basket, and so she shoots but doesn't score. But since the agreement was just to get past him, she won the challenge. So he is impressed with her determination and even more with how she managed managed to turn the tables, realizing that maybe he had been careless. While they cool off outside, Zhe goes straight to the point, saying that the other day she ended up delivering a letter, and that day people came in and she couldn't explain to him what had happened. She apologizes for creating the misunderstanding, but since she is Sijia's friend, she wouldn't want to see her suffering. So because of that, if possible, she would like him to go and talk to her friend to explain what happened. Well, then he asks what benefit it would be for him to do that, but embarrassed, Zia just replies that he can think about it himself and quickly leaves, which makes him quite happy. Later, when she is going to sleep, the protagonist receives a notification on her cell phone. It's your friend apologizing for making you worry, saying that she caught a cold and that's why she didn't go to school and also didn't respond to messages. Sijia explains that on that day she also didn't go to Ban's house. She was just passing by and took a photo of him while he was swimming. That, in fact, she ended up taking advantage of the moment and also the rumors to get closer to him. However, she finally realized that he doesn't care at all about what she does. Jia starts to reply to her friend saying that she should consider herself the most important person and shouldn't need to apologize. However, before she sends it, her friend sends a voice message, saying that Ban left her waiting several times, in addition to having rejected her in various ways, and that she has never felt so mistreated since childhood. However, this afternoon, he sent her a message apologizing and telling her not to focus too much on him, and that's why she's feeling better. But even so, she won't give up since she likes him a lot. Hearing this, Jia feels more relieved and deleting her message. She just says that she's happy and asks if her friend will go to school tomorrow, to which she agrees. The next day, all the classmates are asking Sijia why she didn't let them know she was sick, since everyone was worried. At that moment, Weixia enters the room with a jar in her hands. One of the girls comments that while Sijia was out of school, several strange rumors started to appear, but Sijia decides to change the subject and thanks the girl for being concerned, saying that she will treat everyone to a meal next weekend. Ming arrives just in time while the protagonist is upset, standing like a statue in the hallway. He arrives saying that those girls are all fake, that a few days ago they were all being aggressive and insulting Sijia, and now that she's back, they pretend nothing happened. But before he finishes commenting, he notices the protagonist's eyes as if she hasn't slept in days, and asks if she's okay. Jia comments that she was making soup, which is why she couldn't sleep. Then Ming asks to try it since it smells delicious, but obviously she refuses. Ming comments that if the soup is for Sijia, it will be a waste since she is totally picky about her food, so she probably won't eat it. However, contradicting everything that was said, later Sijia, all happy, thanks for the soup and says she drank it all, commenting that her friend's cooking skills are amazing. The protagonist is happy, saying that whenever her friend wants, she can make more. Going back to how things used to be, Sijia is happy to be friends with Xia and comments that they should go together for physical activity, but the protagonist has to use that time to distribute the Chinese papers. Later, while everyone is outside in class, Xia walks down the hallway with all the papers. Before she enters the room, she hears some gossip from a few girls commenting that maybe that student F is quite capable since she made a soup that pleased Sijia a lot. However, soon the girls start commenting that Weijia seems to pretend to be pure in front of the boys, but in reality, she thinks of herself as a goddess. And another girl comments that she also doesn't like the new student, that the bag Sijia gave as a gift was precisely because she was tired of being embarrassed with someone who had a really ugly and flimsy bag. Deciding to put an end to the gossip, Zia opens the classroom door, startling the girls, who quickly leave as if nothing was happening. And surprisingly, they all wear the blue ribbon, meaning they are also student F. Xia thinks that she doesn't care much about what others say, and remembers that she actually has a reward to pay to Ban, so she decides to send a message asking what he would like. Later, in the classroom, the teacher explains that the results of the tests had a significant change in the ranks, and the students must identify their weakest areas to improve more and more, and that the school tests are not the goal, but the path. For most students, the tests are just a summary of what they learned, but in that school, it's the moment they could drop to rank F if they don't make enough effort. The teacher explains that Bang Chen is still the best student in the school, especially in physics, and that sometimes the teacher even feels like putting the way he solved the problem on the classroom wall for others to learn. Bang's friend makes a joke saying that Bang is alive and breathing, so why would they hang him on the wall? Obviously, this makes Bang irritated, who kicks his friend, making him fall off the chair. The teacher scolds him, saying that he didn't get any of the answers right, even though it was multiple choice while the students laugh. Finally, he comments that Weixia also did a great job and was second in the ranking, achieving the highest score on the Chinese test. All the students start whispering, impressed, some commenting positively, others saying that she is still an F student regardless. Mo is happy for her friend and says that she is amazing, which the protagonist appreciates. Before leaving, the teacher tells Xixia that her rank has dropped by 6 places and that she will soon be out of the top 10, so she should come to his office after class. Later, in the teacher's office, he questions how she managed to get some questions wrong with the level of knowledge she has. He even uses Weixia's test as an example to illustrate how meticulous she is in answering questions. And if she needs help, Weixia also did well in math, so she might ask for assistance. Xijia, irritated, says that fluctuating grades is normal. Moreover, if he is commenting on her grade, why does he keep bringing up Weixia in the conversation? The teacher gets annoyed, saying that he is just trying to help her and that she shouldn't speak to him like that. While the two are arguing, the protagonist enters the teacher's office, bringing some Chinese tests. The teacher dismisses Xijia, who walks past Xia without saying anything, ignoring her. The teacher comments that after the tests, he intends to place Weixia in a study group of his class, also asking her to help her desk mate improve his grades, as he has been practically failing everything. Later, in the study room, Xia hands her classmate several books where she marked the main points, just so he can read them. Ming thanks her, but tells her not to worry too much. After all, he doesn't intend to spend much time studying. Xijia makes a somewhat bitter comment about the boy, saying that he really doesn't need to study much, since he just has to go home and grill some skewers to inherit the family food stall, and she warns her friend not to waste time with him. He doesn't let it slide and provokes, saying that he is not like Miss Liu, who dresses nicely for the boys all day long. This irritates her, and she grabs the books to hit him. Xia says that she will only explain the main points so he doesn't have to solve all of them, which they both agree on. Sometime later, Ban enters the room with his friend, and they notice Xia and Ming studying at the back. She asks him to pay attention and stop dozing off, but Ming says it's getting harder because physics is very boring, dropping his head on the table while dozing off. Ban is completely focused on Xia while his friend tries to get his attention. He finally sits down and tells his friend that he won't be able to go to his house because he has plans for the weekend. Xia receives a message on her cell phone, and when she looks, it's a message from Ban asking her to spend a day of the weekend with him as a reward. The protagonist questions if that is all he wanted, and he replies that yes, just that. However, as soon as the weekend arrives, Xia wakes up with a terrible stomachache. Normally, whenever she is on her period, she ends up having various symptoms and a lot of pain. Last time, she fainted in front of the school and had another time when she ended up in the hospital. She remembers that she arranged to go to Ban's house in the afternoon. However, she decides to let him know that she is not feeling well and won't be able to go to his house. As soon as she sends the message, she notices that the house phone is ringing and shouts for her cousin to go answer it. But time passes and he doesn't come, because he was playing a game with headphones and wasn't even listening to the phone. Xia gets up and goes to his room door and realizes that he is completely immersed in his game and didn't even hear her calling. She decides to answer the phone herself, which is her aunt, saying that she won't be able to come home for lunch and asks her to cook for her cousin. When the protagonist explains that she's not feeling well and asks if she could order something, your aunt seems to have not even listened and starts complaining about how difficult it has been to pay the bills lately. After all, there is another person living in the house, saying that it's all her uncle's fault, who is not working. Noticing the difficulty, Xia tells her aunt that everything is fine and that she will make food for her cousin. Later, the poor thing, dying of pain, is there cooking. And as soon as her cousin sees her in the kitchen, he tells her that if she is in a lot of pain, she doesn't need to cook, that he will eat instant noodles. But the protagonist warns that she will not let him stuff himself with junk food and asks for his help to cut the vegetables. Sometime later, almost finishing the dish, the pain starts to worsen, and someone calls Jia's cell phone. As soon as she answers, it's Ban asking what she is doing, to which she replies that she is cooking, and if he doesn't need to say anything, she will hang up. Ban is confused because if she is feeling unwell, why is she cooking? Meanwhile, the pain worsens a lot, and Xia can no longer even stand. So she informs her cousin that she set an alarm on her phone to remind her to turn off the stove. At the moment Xia is resting on her bed, her cousin is outside talking to someone on the phone, giving some directions. She even wonders who he is talking to since he is speaking so loudly, but the pain is so much that she simply goes back to sleep. Sometime later, her cousin knocks on the door saying that the food is ready. Xia gets up and asks if the rice is ready, that she will finish cooking the vegetables, and her cousin explains that she doesn't need to cook since they have food ready. Arriving at the table, she comes across a feast with various foods and asks where he got this from. Her cousin explains that someone called her phone saying that the delivery person couldn't get there, so he went to pick it up. When he got downstairs, he ended up finding a guy who said he was from Xia's class who brought the food. In addition, he brought a porridge and some heating pads for Cramps. Excited, taking several photos, her cousin comments that it is a very expensive restaurant and that all his friends would be jealous to know that he ate food from there, stating that she has a very nice classmate since he did all this for her, making the protagonist embarrassed thinking about Ban Sheng. Quickly going to her room, Jia decides to call Ban to thank him. As soon as he answers, the protagonist thanks him for the food and informs him that she will transfer the money for the food. Changing the subject, Ban asks if she ate the porridge, to which Xia replies that she hasn't yet, and he responds that she should eat it while it's still warm and use the heating pads. She explains that she can't receive all this without returning the favor, while she hears a noise outside. Ban tells her to save his number then. Opening the window, Xia tries to say that she will help him in Chinese class. At that moment, lowering his phone, Ban calls Wei Xia, and she realizes that he is right there below her window, telling her that she owes him, so she will have to return the favor in the future. The next day in the cafeteria, Sijia tells her and her friend to sit there. Wei Xia, noticing that her friend is only going to eat salad, comments that she should eat more meat. Sijia replies that it's fine since she isn't that hungry, and that it might even be good if she could just live by injecting serum into her vein. Ming was passing by at that moment and comments that even farm chickens don't have a diet as restricted as hers, which irritates the girl, asking who he is calling a chicken. At the moment Sijia stands up to argue with him, she smells something coming from her food and asks what he is going to eat that smells so bad. Ming replies that it's snail pasta. Guys, snail pasta? Is that edible? Luckily, they are interrupted by someone placing a tray on the table asking if that spot is taken. When Sijia realizes it's Ban, she gets embarrassed, so she asks him to sit in front of her. But before she finishes the sentence, Ban's friend sits down, saying that if no one is there, he will sit. Clearly, she gets irritated, but lets it go, changing the subject and asks why Ban drinks milk every day. The boy replies, half joking, that it's clearly because he wants to get taller. His friend gets offended after all. Ban is practically 1.87 meters tall. So how much taller does he want to grow? Continuing the joke, the friend says that Ban's shoulders are so broad that it even gives a sense of comfort when lying on them, to which Sijia starts laughing, saying that it is totally true. Xia, listening to everything, begins to think while eating. She specifically remembers those situations that happened with them previously, when she was leaning on his shoulder or when they played basketball. Sijia, noticing that her friend is distracted, asks if she is really going to eat just that pepper. At that moment, the protagonist realizes that she confused the beans with the pepper, and Ban questions what she was thinking so intensely. If perhaps it was because of the food she ate yesterday? At that moment, the protagonist, embarrassed and also not wanting to show what happened, starts to cough, and her friend gives her a bit of soup to drink and see if it helps with the cough. But someone passes by and bumps into her, causing her to spill the soup on her clothes and on the floor. The boy, seeing that he caused all that, just turns his back and tries to leave, but someone ends up holding onto his clothes. It was Ban asking the boy to apologize. Outraged, he pushes Ban's hand away and asks why he has to apologize, since it's that girl who doesn't know how to hold a pot properly. Grabbing the boy's hand again, Ban tells him to apologize quickly and not make him repeat the words again, thinking there wasn't much he could do. The boy just apologizes, saying it was his mistake for not paying attention while walking. Xia tries to clean her shirt, telling the boy not to worry, but that next time he should be more careful. A little later, Xia is changing while Sijia is waiting for her outside, saying that Ban gave her that shirt to try on and see if it would fit. The protagonist is impressed by where he gets these things. Proudly, her friend says it's precisely because he is the distributor for the industry that makes the school uniforms. As soon as she finishes changing, she realizes that something is missing. Her necklace has disappeared. Quickly, she tries to look on the floor to see if it fell somewhere, but she is interrupted when her friend calls her, saying that she did poorly on the tests, precisely because she was distracted, and she also warns that she will not give up on Ban Sheng and will definitely not lose to Wei Xia. Then, her friend leaves, leaving her alone. Shortly after, in the classroom, two people are arguing, which catches the protagonist's attention. A boy keeps provoking a girl, saying that she needs to watch where she walks and that because of her, his clothes are dirty. Unable to watch it any longer, Jia tells the boy that it wasn't the girl's fault and that she will compensate him for the cost of washing the clothes, if necessary. The boy just says he will spare the situation because a very pretty girl is asking. But that next time that girl should be more careful. The girl thanks Xia and comments that she would also like to borrow her notebook because of her notes. The protagonist clearly agrees and says it's on her desk. She can take it whenever she needs it, and if she doesn't understand something, she should feel free to ask. As soon as she leaves the room, she finds Ban standing in the hallway. Before she can ignore him, he puts his foot down, preventing her from leaving. At that moment, he shows a necklace with a leaf and says it fell when they were in the cafeteria. Surprised that he found the necklace, Xia tries to take it, but he lifts it up, saying it seems very important to her, and he would like to know who gave it to her. The protagonist doesn't respond and just asks him to return it. Obviously, he is not going to return it that easily, and even states that if she begs, maybe he will consider returning it, even against her will. Xia then asks, please. Realizing she wasn't joking, Ban returns the necklace to her, and so she leaves without saying anything, which leaves him wondering if this necklace is really that important to her. Later, on the basketball court, Ban is playing with some friends, while Xia is in the building studying. Sijia comments that during physics class today, Ban gave several quick ideas on how to solve the problems, and this made her question if being close to him, would she be able to absorb all that knowledge without doing anything? However, the protagonist could only think about how he had been acting lately, remembering that his name meant shark. And from what he had done lately with her, he really was a very dangerous shark. Knowing that he was like that, and maybe she shouldn't get too close, especially because of her friend, something in her heart always ended up doing the opposite. Even so, she decides to tell her friend that she found out Ban plays basketball every Friday in Hall 6 instead of Hall 3. Very excited about this news, Sijia asks how she found out, and she says that since she is an F student, they ended up telling her. Very happy with the news, Sijia hugs the protagonist and says that if everything goes well, she will buy an ice cream for her friend. Ming interrupts the two, saying that Sijia is distracting him from seeing the answers. And again, the two start arguing, as if they were cat and mouse. Xia's alarm starts ringing, and she wonders if it's because it's already past 6, until she notes that on Ban's profile, it was written to reach the unreachable star, and she questions if this is his profile description for close friends. Looking at the posts, she sees that he posts various foods and things like that, which makes her happy to know that he has a side like that which she didn't know about, and she comments to her friend that Ban also likes to eat coconut with milk and jelly, to which Sijia says she will learn to make it to give to him soon. However, the next day, it seems it wasn't that easy, as Sijia was struggling just to make a dessert and that it might be better to just buy it. While showing her all bruised hands from trying to cook, Sijia comments that investing in getting to know Ban better is very difficult. Then the protagonist gives another idea. If he likes astronomy, she could invest in that. And as she saw online, in 2 days it will be possible to see the Milky Way on Friday. This makes Sijia super excited, believing that maybe God is on her side for having such an incredible opportunity to invite him. And still a bit shaken by the situation, Sijia tries only to wish that her friend gets what she really wants. Sometime later, already in the classroom, one of the classmates asks if Ban wants to play a bit more basketball, since there is no one supervising the study room today. And before he can respond, Xia says that he still hasn't turned in his homework. He hands over the notebook, and as if he had been waiting for this opportunity to talk to her, he asks when she is going to his house. But the protagonist changes the subject and says they can talk about it later, since she is very busy this week. Not letting go of the notebook for her to continue, paying attention to him, Ban asks if she is avoiding him again. As there was no response, he places 2 candies on top of the notebook and turns around saying that he bought something on the way, and the shop owner gave him those candies as a gift. His friend arrives at that moment asking if he still has those sweets he bought. However, Ban says they are gone since he gave the last ones to a butterfly, which leaves the friend confused because butterflies don't eat sweets. To provoke a bit more, he adds that the butterflies always stay on the defensive with him, eat, and then fly away. While the friend tries to understand what the relation is with the butterfly, the protagonist, who knows very well that this was meant for her, feels embarrassed. At the end of the day, Waxia and a classmate are cleaning the board. While the protagonist comments that this time they will have to draw the mural, the classmate complains saying that only F students should do that, since the time of the other students is very precious. Obviously, Xia says that the school's rotation system does not make distinctions between students, and drawing the mural is also an obligation for both F students and A students, but it seems that the girl is not even interested in listening, as she leaves saying that it doesn't even make sense because the whole school is divided, and that her hand is numb so she won't do the mural. If Xia wants to do it, that's fine. If not, then it's her problem. The poor girl stays late doing it alone, since the other girl simply abandoned her, and after a few hours she finally finishes the mural. When she picks up her phone to check the time, she realizes that it is probably quite late, but her phone is out of battery. And while walking through the school corridors, leaving, Xia hears the sound of a cello. Arriving at the entrance of the room, she sees some students practicing in the cello club. This reminds her of the time when she also played, where she even participated in a concert. Her thoughts are interrupted when the girls start to leave. Xia is startled, as she thought they would see her mimicking the cello in the air. But to her surprise, no one noticed her presence there. When she finally decides to continue her way home, she realizes that all the lights in the school have gone out, but she still had to go down the stairs, and doing that in the dark was a bit difficult, especially for someone who had a hard time in the dark like her. Even trying to go down very slowly, she ends up slipping. But before she falls, someone grabs her by the strap of her bag, telling her to be careful. Obviously, it's our dear Ban Sheng. She thanks him for the help and asks why he hasn't left yet. While Ban explains that he came back to grab some things he had forgotten, lighting a lighter, he invites her to stay close. so she avoids falling in the dark. The protagonist follows the instructions, even a little bit away, and wonders if it's just her impression or if he seems a bit angry, until suddenly he stops, but doesn't say anything, which leaves the protagonist quite confused, and starts walking again. When she thinks everything has been resolved, Ban simply turns and grabs Xia's arm, cornering her against the wall and getting quite close to her. Even though everyone thinks Ban has given in to the voices in his head and decided to confess, he was actually just trying to prevent the guard from discovering them late at night in the school. Believing it's a great time to discuss the matter, Ban asks if he should accept Sijia's confession. Noticing that the protagonist just turns her flushed face without answering anything, Ban holds her chin, forcing her to look into his eyes, stating that he is the one who decides whom he likes, and precisely for that reason, he only wants to be with Xia. Annoyed by the sudden declaration, Xia says she will only be with him when it snows in Nanjun, which leaves the boy upset. After all, it hasn't snowed in that city for decades. Therefore, he concludes that what she is trying to say is that it's practically impossible for them to be together. Upset, he simply tells her not to speak so definitively and walks away. A few days later, Wei Xia started avoiding talking to Ban Sheng again. With that, she found a way to always create an excuse to refuse class activities and also the invitations from other students in Class A, which was making Ban quite impatient. While she was distributing notebooks around the classroom, some girls were gossiping, saying that no matter what Wei Xia tried to do, even with high grades, it would never change the fact that she was an F student, since she only knows how to study and her family has no money or power. Mo asks if Xia is okay with these rumors, telling her not to worry, as it's common for those girls to do that, but they will stop soon. However, the protagonist is not willing to wait and says that this time she will not tolerate it. Speaking loudly, she says that this kind of behavior is totally immature, and the need to belittle others to have a false sense of superiority is even worse. And this ridiculous sense of pleasure usually comes from an intense reaction from the other party. However, she will not give that pleasure to those girls. Irritated and not understanding why Xia responded that way, the girls decide to leave the classroom. They end up bumping into Ban at the exit. The two stare at each other for a moment, but no one says anything. Then Xia asks Mo to finish handing out the homework as she needs to go to the bathroom, passing by Ban again, without saying anything or looking at him. Thinking about the situation, she realizes that even avoiding Ban in every way, she seems to be feeling more and more anxious and having difficulty controlling her emotions. On the way, she ends up meeting Ming, who greets her, but upon looking at him, she notices that he is all bruised and asks if he ended up fighting with someone, to which he agrees, saying it was a gang from another school that loves to cause trouble. Quickly, the protagonist says she will go to the infirmary to get some medicine for him, which makes him worried, as it's almost time for class. And Ban, at the classroom door, ended up witnessing this whole conversation. Sometime after class had started, Wei Xia rushes into the classroom and the teacher scolds her for being late. One of the boys in the class comments that she is late because she went to get medicine for her deskmate. And even Ban's friend makes a joke saying that Xia and Ming make a great couple, but he feels jabs coming from his back, and there's clearly something wrong with Ban Sheng. Ming, seeing that he is having difficulty applying the medication using the mirror, asks Xia if he is doing it correctly, which she clearly sees is very crooked and tells him that she can help with the application to get it right. When she approaches to start applying, someone calls Ming, it's Ban, with a not-so-friendly face, asking Ming to step outside for a minute to talk to him. Ming takes it well, but says it's strange because usually, students don't lower themselves to talk to people like them, and walks towards the exit telling Ban to follow him, which leaves the protagonist anxious and Sijia confused. After all, she just arrived in the room. The friend questions why Ban called Ming for a conversation, but the protagonist has no idea. Then Xia says that since Wei Xia will help her win over Ban, she was investigating some things in the morning but before she finishes the sentence, the protagonist cuts her off saying she's very sorry but she won't be able to help, which catches the girl off guard. Not understanding, Wei Xia tells her friend that the Chinese language teacher recommended she participate in the national poetry contest. And because of that, she will be quite busy and won't be able to accompany her friend all the time or even go to the basketball club. Relieved that it's just because she is busy, Sijia says she totally understands and will support her friend 100%. The two get all lovey-dovey complimenting each other, but in reality, Wei Xia is worried, and that perhaps the best solution is indeed to avoid Ban in every way, so that maybe things will return to normal. Later at the bus stop, a strong wind starts with the approach of a typhoon. Wei Xia is at the stop with an umbrella, talking to her aunt on the phone, who asks her to pick up her cousin from school precisely because the weather is really bad and she fears something might happen to him. As soon as she hangs up, the wind is so strong that it turns her umbrella inside out, and suddenly a car stops right in front of her. As soon as the window opens, Sijia is inside the car with Ban and asks if she would like a ride. After Weixia declines and says she will need to wait for the bus. Even so, Sijia insists to Ban to give her friend a ride, and he, looking sideways pretending not to care much, just tells her to get in the car. But the protagonist refuses, saying she will take the bus. Then he asks the driver to move on, leaving the protagonist behind. Irritated, he decides that if she intends to keep avoiding him, he will make sure she can't. And so, he sends a message to her phone, telling her to come to his house on Saturday. While she types that she has a commitment and won't be able to attend, he sends another message saying that if she doesn't come, he will tell Sijia that he is interested in her. Ban is excited, just waiting for Ji's response, while Sijia, who is in the car, completely ignored, asks if by any chance Ban is in a bad mood today, and he, smiling, says that actually it's the opposite, especially because he just saw Shia's message confirming that she will keep her word. Meanwhile, she finds her cousin in front of the school and notices that he has a bruised mouth and face, asking if someone fought or hit him. Of course, he replies that no, he just got hurt on the way and asks them to hurry home. But before they leave, a boy appears with a knife in hand, questioning if that isn't Hang, and he also asks who that pretty girl is who is with him. The cousin stands in front of Jia, as if to protect her, and tells the boy not to be a nuisance, which makes the situation even worse since the boy had a knife in hand and starts to get irritated. The friends tell him to let it go since it's raining heavily, and as a strong lightning strikes nearby, those kids start running away to the subway, saying that Shia's cousin will regret it. The protagonist, realizing the situation, warns that she won't tell their aunt, but asks him not to get into trouble anymore, so he doesn't get hurt. The cousin says he understands and takes Shia's bag, telling them to hurry home. On the way, he comments that the weather forecast says it will get very cold this weekend and asks if his cousin plans to go out, to which she replies that yes, she has to help a friend with homework. When the weekend arrives, Xia is at Ban's door, ringing the bell, but he suddenly appears behind her, opening the door for her to enter the huge house, which even has a pool. Ban says that if she is interested, she can explore the house at will, and Xia asks if it's true that he doesn't let just anyone into his pool. Getting very close to her ear, he laughs and asks if she thinks she is just anyone, which makes the protagonist quite embarrassed, as she is trying to avoid such situations with him. Opening the door to the pool, Ban tells her to go take a look, and when she gets there, she is impressed by the size and beauty of that pool, asking if he usually swims often. He replies that being alone, submerged in the water, holding his breath until he reaches his limit, gives a feeling of freedom, as if he is leaving the whole world behind, and that feeling is incredible. However, Xia no longer feels the same. After all, she remembers her friend who ended up drowning because of her. Placing his hand on her back, Ban asks if she wants to try, and then pushes her, making her fall towards the pool. But before she makes contact with the water, he catches her from behind, hugging her from behind. Even when he lets go, the poor girl is still in shock, thinking she had fallen into the pool, and Ban starts laughing, saying it's funny how scared she got. However, Xia is irritated and says that this is not funny at all. Changing the subject, Xia says for them to go inside since it's cold and to resolve the homework issue quickly. In the office, she notices several photos he has of the starry sky, and Ban comments that this photo was taken by him on a mountain, and that on that day he was crouched down in the middle of the night, suffering from the altitude, and because of that, he ended up slipping down the slope and breaking his leg, which still has a metal pin in the bone. Xia is impressed and says that he really has an adventurous spirit. Poor thing. What kind of reaction is that, young man? The boy broke his leg. He hands her a cup of tea. Again, she is moved by the little details because the tea is at room temperature, ready to be drunk. Ban comments that he likes to observe two lonely satellites that cover each other, and Xia, looking at the photo, says that they are indeed very beautiful. Letting himself be carried away, Ban extends his hand to touch Tia's hair, revealing a little piece of her ear, which makes her completely uncomfortable, and asks him not to touch her. But we know that it's actually because of her hearing aid. However, Ban feels upset. After all, it seems like he has something contagious and can't even get close. A phone call ends up breaking that awkward atmosphere between the two, and it's Xia's aunt saying that her cousin got into a fight at school and was sent to the hospital. Apparently, the family of the boy who fought with him has a lot of money and power, and no matter how many times his aunt apologizes, they do not accept reconciliation and are threatening to sue his cousin, which makes her more worried that this will tarnish his resume, and he won't be able to get a job in the future. The protagonist tells her aunt not to worry because she is going there right at this moment. Then she starts to pack her things and tells Ban that a problem has come up at her house, and that they can reschedule the lesson for another day, leaving quickly. Ban asks where her cousin studies and what the name of the family that is suing is. Showing that he actually heard the whole conversation, Xia says it's at school 13, and the person he fought with is named Fang. Apparently, Ban knows this family, and says he has dealt with Fang's brother twice, warning that he can resolve the issue with her cousin quickly. The protagonist is impressed, but still, she just turns away without saying anything, knowing that this kind of attitude from him is the same as when he had her necklace, meaning he will want something in return, and not wanting to owe him anything more. She just grabs her umbrella and says she is leaving, since the rain is going to get worse soon and it will be even harder to get out. Irritated, Ban shouts Weisha's name and asks if it is that difficult to ask him for help, but the protagonist says nothing and just leaves, leaving the poor boy alone and upset. Arriving at the hospital, Xia finds her cousin in the corner and runs towards him while her aunt apologizes. The guy doesn't seem at all inclined to forgive anything that happened there and just says that she doesn't need to say anything more and should prepare for the lawsuit. Begging, the aunt says she will pay any amount of medical expenses if he has a little compassion, but the guy just says that this is not his decision but the president's and that he doesn't want to see them anymore. Xia approaches, helping her aunt to get up, and the cousin warns that the guys have already left and that his mother doesn't need to ask anymore, telling them to just go home. Upset and not knowing how they will resolve this situation. That's it, guys. We've finished part 2 of this super cute story here on the Misa Manhwa channel. What do you think will happen next? Will Xia ask Ban for help? Will she finally accept her feelings for him and give the boy a chance? It's a complicated situation when someone likes you, but your friend also likes that same person. Have you ever gone through something like that? What would you do in this case? This story is called Can You Hear Me? I've covered it up to chapter 28, but if you like it, I can bring more. Every time it reaches 100,000 views, I'll try to post the continuation for you guys. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any new uploads. Kisses, and see you next time.